Hello again. Today we're going to go over yesterday's challenge. We're going to look at this orbit animation and add some traces to it. Okay, so let's switch over to what the animation is supposed to look like, and it would be in this. So that's the animation right there. Okay, and we gave you a couple of hints yesterday. So let's just go through and have a look. So when I am often doing things like this, if I know that I'm trying to recreate something from a GIF, or if I can, take a screen recording of it, I will look at a frame by frame to help me decompose it, because I kind of have an idea. And obviously for this one, I made the animation. So I know how I built it, sort of. But let's just go to the desktop first. And let's bring this GIF into preview. Let's open. There we go. We open it with preview. See that? And let me just make that bigger. And what I'll do is I'll just go to one of the frames way out at the end, sort of like there. And look at that. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 copies. And they're each successfully a little bit smaller, probably by about 5%. Yeah, something like that. And if I go even further, what I can see as I go up and down through these frames is that there is more and more opacity, also probably by about 5%, making them a little bit smaller each time, or a little bit more faded each time. But it doesn't appear that the opacities change from layer to they're not animated, right? So all right, so let's do it. Let's make the animation. Okay, so we're going to pick, again, the challenge was to figure out which rotation orbit animation technique we could use, and there was a variety of them that we could. The one that I am going to do today is the I'm going to use anchor points, just because for me it feels the simplest. All right, so we're going to use anchor points, and we're going to then change the opacities, change the sizes, and then all we're doing is we're just offsetting the rotation animation, I think. Okay, so let's have a look. All right, let's go with the anchor point, and we are going to we're going to duplicate this. We're going to call this trace, and we're going to call this C0. We're going to make 4 copies just by copying and pasting. C0, C1, C2, C3, C4. Okay, I didn't copy and paste with key values. That's okay. And let's just make sure, yep, all those anchor points should be the same. So with relative mode on, this one is at 200 by 200. We're going to select them all. We're going to make them 200 by 200. Okay. And now we are going to go here, and I believe that the rotation should just be 360 at that point. 360, enter. Oops, Command Shift R, undo, 360, enter. Now we got animations for all of our things. Boom. And that's right. We had linear on the original one, and we're going to make this one an ease in, ease out. There we go. Okay, so what we can see here is we have 5 rotations, all ease and outs from 0 to 360. Our layers, we just duplicated yesterday's anchor point animation, which is the one that had that little hack of how to change the anchor point properly, and we had set it far enough outside of the shape itself so that when you position the anchor point, okay, or you position the layer, the anchor point is actually at the center of the canvas, and then the shape rotates, just normally rotates. All right, so let's see. This is all good. One thing I might do is I might go like this and make them all 0.8. Like that. 0.75. And then just shift, 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 shift. Lock that duration. Put the end at 1 second. And select everything and distribute. So now we have animations to do that. Okay, that's probably too long of a gap between things. So let's do something like this. Let's reduce this by 0.15. Oops, we'll change the duration to 0.15. And we are going to change this to 0.85. Okay. It's still a little bit too far. Okay, so if I go ahead and again look at my image in preview, what we're going to see is okay, so they overlap a little bit more. So you see how they're sort of tucked into one another? Well, let's go ahead and say maybe then they're only offset by 2/100ths of a second. So right now I have it, the first one starting at 0.15. So that means that all of these are 0.3 off. So I'll do this again. Let's say it's 2/100ths of a second, 5 things, 2/100ths, 0.1. That means that over here, the animation should start at 0.9. And there you go, the duration is 0.1. And they're sort of overlapping, but they're not even that close. So I actually now think that this is going to be 0.05. They're very tight to one another. And we can distribute those. Should be on, this should be a 0.1. This should be a 0.2. 0.3, so it's just off by a tiny little bit. 0.3 and 0.5, there we go. This should be, let's call this 0.95. And let's see if the distribute works. Maybe there's a little bit of a rounding error. Okay, so this should be 0.96. And then we just do that, bring that down. And I think we're good. There we go. 9.5, 9.6, 9.7, 9.8, 0.99. Right. 5 things. Should be 0.4. I can't do math today. 0.4. There we go. And distribute nicely. And 7, 9, 6. Okay, let's just see. We can try one more. That's the one. All right. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to turn on relative mode. We are going to say this comes down by 0.5, about 5% for each one of these. 0.95, 0.9, C3 is going to be 0.85, and C4 is 0.8. And now we come back here. Oh, I did them all backwards. Oh, actually, no, I didn't. What we can do here is we can reverse our animations. I had just, did I? No, that doesn't work. C4 should be 1 because it's at the top and it's moving first. C3 is 0.95. C2 should be the same value. This should be 0.85. And C0 is 0.8. And so now, there we go. Now if I click off of here, and I look at those, and then I go head back to preview. Okay, so maybe that color could be a little bit darker or a little bit more transparent. Let's make it, let's try, I don't know, 10%. So this would be 0.9. 0.8. 0.7 and 0.6. That looks pretty good. Okay. And so now we're going to do the sizing. So let's say C3 should be size is 0.55. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I originally didn't do this with the anchor points, and now I can see why. So we have, so the anchor point position is based on the width and the height of your layer. So when I changed this to 0.55 to make it smaller, I ended up inadvertently downsizing like the ratio for the anchor point. So the anchor point here isn't going to work very well because we don't want to figure out like, we don't want to figure out animation. We don't want to figure out like the offset of the anchor point for something and then like change its size and then do it all again, etc., etc. So the ideal way now to do this is with groups. Okay, so we're going to do that. Sorry for that. This is me just sort of working through, but it's also going to give you a good sense of like how I go about recreating animations. So I'll go and try something and then, oh yeah, I didn't think of something along the way. That's totally fine. What we'll do is, oh, interesting. Interesting. Anyways, sorry, we'll just rebuild it. Okay. And so that's basically what I do is I'll go through and I'll try something. If it doesn't work, I'll go rebuild it with the other idea. So should have just picked groups to begin with, but c'est la vie. All right, let's just go and delete this. And we already, so we know like the offset should be from 0 to 0.8 for the rotation, 360 degrees. So we can use all that stuff that we already figured out with our new one. So group, we're going to duplicate and we're going to call this one trace. All right, so we're going to call you G0 and we are going to go copy, edit, paste in place with key values, Command Shift Option V. Okay, so I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. We got all our animations, so we don't have to rebuild them this time. We are going to say this is, let's call this G0, G1, G2, G3, G4. And now G0 we're not going to touch, but we are going to do this. We are going to make their offsets. Zero 0.8, 0.6, and it's okay, we can change our timeline afterwards. This should be 0.4, and pressing shift, shift clicking, and now what we're going to do is we're just going to say that that timeline is now 1 second, and we're going to scale it down. Oh no, that's not what we're going to do. Sorry. We're going to take this. We're going to say the end, the duration is going to be the same. The end is going to be there. And now we're just going to clip to 1 second our timeline. Okay, great. So our animations are offset. We should get something like that. But we want to go and change this to easing in and out. And now we'll do the, and there you go. So we're right back to where we started with our rotations and things like that. So that was fairly easy. What we're going to do now is we're just going to pop into each one of these. Okay, we're going to go to that circle. We call it C1 as we go along. C0. Always good to rename things. We're going to make that opacity. What we figured out was going to be 0.9, and its height and width is going to be 55. And then C2 is going to be 50 and 0.8. And enter. C3 is 45 and 0.7, and C4 is 40 and 0.6. Enter. Okay, so there is a little discrepancy here that's a bit. So if I look here, the discrepancy is a little bit less than that. So we could say 58. $56. So we're going down by 2 for each one of these now. 52 and 50. Does that look better? Yeah, it looks a little bit closer. It's probably 4. It's probably 3. But okay, suffice it to say, we could get that a little bit closer. Let's just make it, I'm nitpicking here now, 56. $52. 48. 44. That's the one. That looks on the money. Great. All that fading looks pretty good. The last thing that I'm looking at here is in the preview that those gaps are a little bit bigger. It's probably just because we used a different easing curve. So let's go ahead. We're going to click on that easing curve and let's make it, I don't know, let's make it quad. Yep. And we hit play. And we play back at normal speed. There we go. Let's play back at half speed. There you go. There's your trace. And let's go like that. Play back at normal speed. Yeah, I like that. That looks pretty good. Okay. All right, Aid, you submitted another challenge, and let's have a look at it. Let me just go grab it. Where is it? I think I need to send it to myself. There we go, aid orbit, right onto the desktop, and there we go, there's aids, and let's click, good, nice trace, okay, and it got that pause at the other end, good trace happening, and it does look to me like you were using the anchor point technique like I did. I think that's actually why I started with the anchor point today instead of the groups, because I had seen this just before on my other computer and thought, oh yeah, let's just try it with anchor points. So super close. And I see here you're doing some rotations. You're changing the color, and yeah, I mean, really, really close to what that animation looked like. Well done. Okay, so I will think about the next couple days over the weekend what we are going to get into next. So we have a really solid foundation at the moment, the foundation of perception stuff. Okay, so we've done a lot of like looking at basics, looking at anchor points, looking at all the different properties, and then we stepped into perception, like how do you look at something and see it in 3 or 4 different ways. Here we did some orbits, the other day we did some path stuff, and before that it was like little tricks with line, with the Pac-Man, and like using stroke starts and ends on how to do all these different kinds of animations. So I think what we'll do is we'll try and do some recreations maybe next week, and just get into like step by step trying to recreate some more complex, fairly simple but still more complex animations, and we'll start applying these to what we're learning. Okay, and then we're going to continue to build. If anybody is really interested in a particular kind of technique, whether it be animation or formatting or design or anything like that, please feel free to message us either on the Slack channel, email us, send us something to Zendesk, get in touch, or even over Twitter, that kind of thing. And we will figure out a way of getting it all into the Flowcast. All right. So again, anything that you want to do animation wise, we can go and have a look at. Okay. So send us a message, and I'll see you next week. Bye.